Today, we're going to try and unpack the dark, incredibly complicated world of Jeffrey Epstein. It's a story about massive wealth, unchecked power, and of course, absolutely horrific crimes. We're going to piece together how a man with this much influence could get away with so much, for so long, often right in plain sight.
So let's start on a hot summer morning, inside the Metropolitan Correctional Center. Now, this is not just any old federal prison. It's got a pretty grim reputation. They call it the Guantanamo of New York because the conditions are just awful. It's a world away from the gilded cages its most famous inmate was used to.
Inside the high-security South Wing, where inmates are supposed to be checked on every 30 minutes, two guards are making their breakfast rounds. They get to one cell, and the inmate isn't responding. When they finally get inside, they find the body of Jeffrey Epstein. He's dead. And that is the huge question, right? This was a guy who flew presidents around on his private jet, who owned a 51,000 square foot mansion in Manhattan. So how on earth did he end up here, dead in a federal cell? Well, to understand the end of his story, we really have to go back to the beginning, to how his crimes first came to light. The official cause of death was ruled a suicide. But, as you can imagine, that explanation did pretty much nothing to quiet the storm of speculation that erupted almost immediately. For a lot of people, the story of how one of the most high-profile inmates in the entire country died on a supposedly secure wing, it just didn't add up.
And the theories just exploded. Was he silenced? Did the powerful people whose secrets he knew want him gone? Could a guy with his kind of money and resources have actually faked his own death? Or was it simpler? Did he just realize he couldn't face a lifetime in prison? While those theories are still out there, the real truth of his crimes? It doesn't lie in his death. It lies in the lives he completely destroyed. To really truly understand the horror of Epstein's world, you have to listen to the voices of his victims. Their stories, which usually began in these worlds of stark contrast, they reveal just how calculated and cruel his whole operation was.
Think about a place like Palm Beach, Florida. You've got two worlds living side by side. In one world, families can easily drop $100 or more on an American Girl doll. In the other world, a $10 Barbie is a special treat. It was in that gap, between unimaginable wealth and extreme vulnerability, that Epstein found his victims.
And this number, $300, is where everything starts to unravel. We're talking $300 in crisp $20 bills, found in the wallet of a 14-year-old girl we're calling Nana. Now, she went to a C-rated public school, where most kids were on free lunch. So her principal had a pretty obvious and urgent question. Where'd a girl like her get this kind of cash? Under pressure from her parents, from the principal, Nina finally cracks, and she reveals this horrifying secret about a weird encounter with some old guy. And when they ask for a name, she gives them one that belongs to that other Palm Beach, a world away from hers, Jeffrey Epstein. So who even was this man? Epstein worked hard to create this image of being a mysterious, super wealthy genius. But as you're about to see, his world was just deeply, deeply strange.
Let's just start with his New York City home. $51 million. That was the value of his 9-floor townhouse on the Upper East Side. We're talking 51,000 square feet. It was one of the largest private homes in the entire city. I mean, it was basically a castle in the middle of Manhattan.
And his wealth was just staggering. We're talking about a massive ranch out in New Mexico, mansions in Palm Beach and Paris. Oh, and a 70-acre private island that locals had a really chilling nickname for, Pedo Island. He had a whole fleet of cars and a private Boeing 727, which got the infamous nickname, the Lolita Express.
And the darkness, it was hiding in plain sight. A journalist who visited his mansion talked about the bizarre things she saw. Framed synthetic eyeballs lining the hall, a stuffed poodle on top of his grand piano, and the only book left out for her to see, one about the torture of a 12-year-old girl. I mean, these weren't just weird decorations. They were grotesque clues to his predatory mind.
And here's the thing. Epstein wasn't some lone wolf predator. He created a systematic, well-oiled machine that was designed specifically to find, groom, and exploit vulnerable young girls.
It was essentially a pyramid scheme of abuse. He would target underprivileged girls, and then he'd have an existing victim offer them what sounded like easy money, $200 for a massage. Then he'd pay that victim a $200 referral fee for every new girl she brought in. It was a chillingly effective system that literally turned his victims into his recruiters.
And he was very clear about what he wanted. One of his recruiters, who was only 18 herself, told the police that Epstein told her flat out, the younger, the better. She said she once brought him a 23-year-old woman, and he just wasn't interested. His focus was always on minors, girls he knew he could control.
So when the law finally did catch up with him, what happened? Well, a lot of people believe his incredible wealth and his powerful friends allowed him to basically just buy his way out of any real justice.
So get this, after police identified over 30 victims, a secret deal was made with federal prosecutors. This sweetheart deal, as it's called, shielded him and anyone else involved from federal charges. It let him plead guilty to much lesser state charges, which meant he completely avoided a federal sex trafficking trial and a potential life sentence. And his punishment? Just 13 months.
And that sentence, it was a complete joke. He was given work release, which meant he could leave the jail for 16 hours a day, 6 days a week. He went to a private office, he was still allowed to fly on his jet, and he could host female visitors. It was a punishment in name only.
10 years later, Epstein was arrested again, this time on federal sex trafficking charges. And that arrest led to his death in jail, but it absolutely did not end the story. If anything, it just left us with even more questions.
The people who thought they knew him described a man with endless secrets. A close friend once told the journalist Vicky Ward that Epstein was a classic iceberg, that what we, the public, knew about him was just a very tip of something way bigger and way more sinister, lurking just beneath the surface.
And so, that's what we're left with, this huge, hanging question. Jeffrey Epstein is gone, but we know his network of abuse wasn't a one-man show, so the central mystery is still out there. Who were his powerful co-conspirators, and will they ever face justice?